2020 at 6 p.m. Welcome. Before we get started, I want to welcome our newest commissioner, DeJuan Garrett, who has been sworn in by Attorney Perkins. And also for the record, Frank Wiseman and Byron Moran are absent tonight. Approval of December invoices.
Chairman, I move we approve the December invoices.
Got a motion by Mr. Smith
Second.
and a second by Mr. Mifflin. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? B, approval of the December 12th, 2019 minutes. Take a look, and if you haven't read them.
I'll make a motion.
Had a motion by Mrs. Mizell,
I'll second
a
that.
second by Mr. Stone. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. C, approval of the January agenda. Joe, do we have any changes? So no changes. I need approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Mifflin,
Second?
second by Mr. Smith. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, items for postponement or withdrawal. It looks like right now we've got FSP 2019-46, Rita Jones property. That's postponed, so if you're here for that, we'll more than likely hear that next month. And then ZMA 2019-50, the Georgetown, Scott County PRTF, that also is postponed. So if you're here for that, again, we will not be hearing that tonight. It'll more than likely be next month. Anything else, Joe, for postponement or withdrawal?
That's it.
Okay, so I guess I need a motion
For postponement?
we don't need a
No,
motion for
thank you.
postpone.
Not really.
Consent agenda. We do have one that is eligible for consent agenda,
That's right.
which was
Rumpke,
Rumpke of Kentucky. So I'll read it. PDP 2019-51, Rumpke of Kentucky, Inc., development plan for a solid waste transfer facility at 245 West Houston Way. Anybody here either want to hear it, or tonight? If not,
Opposed to.
or as opposed to it, I guess I should say also. If not, take a,
Nobody.
unless the
Chairman.
commission wants to hear it.
Anybody on the commission want to hear it?
So then I need a motion for consent.
I'll make a motion for consent.
Ms. Mizell, make a motion by Ms. Mizell,
Second.
a second by Mr. Mifflin. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay, passes. So first on the agenda,
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman, who's here with that? They need to step up and sign the conditions of approval and,
so if you're here for Rumpke, yep, go up and sign.
yeah.
Now, who was that motion by again?
Good.
Is that
Regina?
Regina.
Mifflin? Okay,
Second.
thank you.
The second.
Mizell.
Perfect.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Consent. All right, next on the agenda is PDP 2019-45 Bluegrass Campground preliminary development plan for 86 RV camping sites, water park, 10 cabins, and other recreation facilities located at 269 Connector Road. Go ahead, Matt.
This preliminary development plan, as you mentioned, is for 86 RV camping sites, a water park, 10 cabins, recreational facilities. Is located at off of Connector Road in the current zoning of the properties B2 is our highway commercial zoning district. Surrounding properties are zoned, the property to the north is zoned to A1, the property to the south is zoned B2, which is highway commercial, and the property to the east is zoned R2. The eastern side of the property is bounded by Connector Road. aerial image showing the surrounding, the property in the surrounding area. This here probably reads Paris Pike. We've got I-25 right here, and then this is Connector Road running its way northward. And then just Old Oxford Road is up here. This area that I've outlined in blue is roughly the project site. This sort of larger area here on the western side is the area where they're proposing to have the RV campsites. And then this smaller area that sits behind where they're currently storing RVs would be the area that they're proposing as more the recreational facilities, the water park, and the tent cabins, as well as some parking spaces. The plan that was submitted for our review showed the primary access off of US 460 Paris Pike with the check-in here. There would be an access road that accesses, that currently accesses the dealership, and then there's sort of a paved driveway that runs along the eastern side of the property where the vehicles would come up. This is sort of the biggest change from the version of this application that you heard back in October. You had requested that the applicant sort of consider other entrance options. Their first version showed a sole entrance off of Connector Road. So you can skip that slide. This slide shows sort of the phase 2 of the property a little bit more detail. I guess ultimately, your concerns at the October meeting surrounded the issue of the entrances. The use of the property was approved by the Georgetown Board of Adjustment at their October meeting. When we looked at the two entrances, I know Ben and I felt strongly that Connector Road was the better of the two, and the applicant did conduct a traffic study and updated it, I think Tuesday, and it reflects that the traffic engineer that the applicant has hired also recommends Connector Road as the better entrance location for this property. If you look at the two roads that would be providing the access, Connector Road is a single lane in each direction. There is currently no center turn lane. Paris Pike, on the other hand, is 2 lanes in each direction. It has a center turn lane. You know, if you're thinking about people driving RVs who are turning into that center turn lane, they then have to navigate across 2 lanes of traffic when making turns into that site if they're coming in off of Paris Pike. Whereas if you're coming in off of Connector Road, making a left turn, you know, it's 1 lane that you're trying to negotiate and find it. The applicant is also proposing to construct a center turn lane that would start somewhere close to the Old Oxford Road entrance and extend down to their entrance sort of here in this area, where they would put a left turn lane in for southbound traffic on Connector Road. On the northbound, they are showing sort of a right turn lane into the site as well. So going back to the things that were stated in the traffic study that they provided to us on the 7th, it did recommend that the main entrance be on Connector Road, and it did recommend a left turn lane for southbound traffic. I am still recommending that we continue this application to next month. A lot of that has to do with the fact that the the preliminary development plan that the applicant provided to us for this meeting at our December 26th corrections deadline shows the primary access off of 460. I don't think that's a good option. I know the applicant is agreeable to providing that access off of Connector Road. I just would like for the preliminary development plan that we review to be submitted by the corrections deadline so that we can do a thorough review and write a staff report. That helps us to establish a baseline by which we review any final development plans that come later. And so I just think it's really important that we stick to that process. I don't think the applicant has any objections to providing the main access off of Connector Road. It's just a matter of, I think they would prefer if you sort of give them approval of the application as is tonight, and then we maybe sort out some of the details later. And I would like to have, you know, a firm plan before you that we all agree upon at one time before this project moves forward to construction plans.
Any questions for Matt?
Yeah, Matt, do you have to have a primary entrance? I mean, if you've got multiple entrances, can you just say there are multiple entrances, or do you have to specify one of them
I
as
know
the?
for their development, I think it makes sense for them to have a primary just because they're gonna have it that check-in building. You know, and I think it makes a lot of sense to have one primary entrance. Another concern that I had with routing traffic off of 460 as sort of a primary access point for this, is that it would sort of drive more traffic along their eastern boundary where, you know, it might become sort of a nuisance to the people that live in Rocky Creek. That combined with the fact that their application does, as currently drawn, does require that waiver on the landscaping boundary on the eastern side, because they are wanting to use that existing paved driveway that runs along the property line. And I think if we drive, you know, a significant amount of the traffic that would visit this site along that eastern boundary, then I can't support sort of a waiver to sort of relocate that boundary a little bit further to the west.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Any other questions for Matt? Thank you, Matt.
thank you. I did have one other thing.
Oh, I do have one question before you go. Do we have a copy of the traffic study?
I do in the folder.
Okay.
If you would like.
Well, see where this goes, maybe.
I was just gonna say, one of the neighbors who could not attend the meeting did send me an email, and I was just gonna give it to Charlie to enter into the record, or to initial as it's entered into the record, and then if he could just sort of pass it along so that you all could see it.
Okay, that's fine.
Matt, when you say you want to continue, you want to go on and hear,
No, I think you want to continue, you're thinking till next month, correct?
Or-
Yes, I'm thinking it would be more, it would be prudent to continue this to next month, so that we can
Okay.
review it, and that the staff report that we write reflects the plan that the applicant wants heard and approved.
Thank you, Matt.
so we're not going to hear from the,
Well,
from the applicant. or-
You can hear from the applicant, that's sort of up to you all.
it's up, if y'all want to vote on it,
So have you talked with him? Is the applicant?
aware that you wanted to continue.
They are aware, I think that they would like for it to be heard tonight. I mean,
Well, before we hear from the applicant, let's discuss what y'all want to do.
I kind of agree with what Matt's saying. I'd just soon have everything firmed down, instead of having some gray areas. It'd be good to have everything,
So are you recommending continuance? No, I would need a motion.
can we still continue after hearing some things?
I don't see why not. That's what we did at
I
the.
mean, that might help to sort some of this out if we, I don't object to hearing some of what the applicant has, and then we can still continue it at the end
All right.
of that period.
Could do that. If we can get a condensed version, how's that sound, from the applicant? We'd appreciate it. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. So, good evening, y'all. We're back here again. I do want to thank Matt for that summary, and I think we actually are on the same page. I think from
Oh, for the record, state your name and your company, please.
Daniel Rayner with Thoroughbred Engineering.
Thank you.
I think we're actually in agreement with what Matt and Ben and planning staff wants, and from here,
Oh,
we
yes,
do.
thank you, Joe. Charlie?
Everyone who signed in to speak tonight, if you could stand and raise your right hand, please.
Sorry, thanks, Joe. Appreciate that.
You swear or affirm the statements you're to make tonight to be the truth to the best of your information and belief. Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry about that, folks. Continue, sorry.
so we did want to, because we have some updated information as recent as from the workshop. A couple of you guys were in there, and we've made some changes from there. So I wanted just to start quickly, and again, Matt summarized it pretty well, but it really started with kind of a vision from the guys from Blue Guys RV as far as what they wanted to put here. All right. There we go. So first phase of this, as Matt mentioned, is going to be a luxury RV campground where they're gonna have RVs, a spot for a picnic table and a fire pit, as well as room for, you know, cornhole or hillbilly golf or anything that people might want to do, and just really be a nice spot for people to come to. And to add to that, to make it more of an attraction, they also have a phase 2, which will involve the water park, mini golf, and cabins, to really be an attraction that will bring people into Georgetown for this very reason. Most people passing by probably wouldn't stop at this exit. They didn't have a reason to, and so with this, really having the water park, mini golf, and cabins, all that tied into the campground, it makes a fun place for families to come to and just have a good time and really bring people into Georgetown that might not otherwise be coming. So from some of the action items from the November meeting were to provide a full traffic study, which we have, as well as to look at an alternate plan for the traffic route to flow, mainly looking off of the entrance from 460, which we also have provided for this meeting. And so some of the main changes from that plan, from alternate 1 to this second alternative, was relocating the entrance. That was kind of some of the concerns we heard from you all last in November, that just having all the traffic come straight on entrance and exit from Connector Road just seemed like a lot to handle. And so we looked at rerouting traffic flow as far as the operation of the campground. It doesn't make a big difference to the owner. It doesn't hurt them either way as far as which one would go, and so we relocated it to there to look at that. We also, from that plan to this plan, reduced the amount of RV spots. We actually made some of them larger, so it actually reduced the amount of spots there, making less trips generated from there. But with this alternative 2, as Matt expressed, there were some concerns from the planning staff. They were in favor and recommending approval of the first alternative, but this second alternative, there were some issues that they arose. They wanted some more information on the traffic study, updating it to include information from Scotland Drive, as well as just some clarification on the trips actually generated by the dealership. Staff also would no longer support the waiver that they had previously supported, just with having all of the traffic go on from 460. Ben, the planning engineer, just does not support having the main entrance and exit on 460. And from the updated traffic study, the transportation engineer also agrees that really a left turn motion is kind of, as Matt mentioned, just is a more unsafe condition turning across 2 lanes versus coming off Connector Road and just making a right. You'd actually have a turn lane to get onto, and you're not crossing traffic. So we were able to address the first concern as far as updating traffic study and providing clarification, but there still remains 2 concerns, whereas the other plan they were in favor of. So just again, to summarize, kind of as Matt was pointing out, with Connector Road and Paris Pike, they're considered 2 different types of streets. Connector Road is a collector street, which is generally meant to carry intermediate volumes of traffic from local streets to arterial streets. So they're the roads that really just they connect, collect, and take to another spot. And there's usually lots of access points or different access points across that. Whereas Paris Pike is a larger street called an arterial street, and they're designed to be used primarily for high vehicular speeds and heavy volumes of traffic. Again, not the type of road you'd want RVs really crossing 2 lanes on. So that just kind of makes Connector Road, again, what we're saying is we're in favor of having that entrance on Connector Road. So with that said, on Tuesday we had a meeting again. Matt and David, you guys were there, and I think what we heard was really we needed a little bit of a combination of the 2. With having the main entrance on Connector Road, where vehicles can come on, turn right, not have to cross traffic, but then they can exit on 460 and again make a right turn motion and not have to cross traffic, making it much easier, much safer for everyone involved in that. We also kept the reduced amount of camping spots, which again generates less trips, which would be less traffic. And we still, as a requirement, but we still would be improving Connector Road to provide that right turn deceleration lane as well as a left turn coming from that Walmart. That really allows the traffic, you know, if you think of it driving down Connector Road, an RV in front of you without a turn lane, it's going to cause congestion. But you have a turn lane, the vehicles can move off of the road. You can even have 3 to 4 RVs in that turn lane. Vehicles don't have to stop or cause congestion. They can continue going around them. So in that sense, it doesn't slow down traffic. Yes, it adds potentially a few more vehicles to the road, but they have somewhere to go to, so they wouldn't be slowing down traffic on that road. Oops, let me go back one. I just wanted to show that again. I know last time there was some talk about what it would look like. So I was trying to find a good graphic to see what that would look like. This would still have to be approved by KYTC, but generally it would be something similar to this, where you have a left turn lane for multiple vehicles to pull over and get in. Even that entrance across the street where the mini warehouse is would benefit just from having larger lanes and not have people backing up, but that's kind of what that would look like. I do have a copy of that third alternative that we put together, which I believe addresses the concerns that Matt and Ben had as far as having all of the entrance and exit off of 460. They're in favor of having the entrance on Connector Road, which is what's on this plan, as well as reduced traffic, reduced trips that are generated, because we have fewer trips. And from the previous meeting, you all were just concerned with having everything be on Connector Road, and we're looking for alternate routes. I have this here, enough copies for everyone to look at. I don't know if you want to take the time to look at it, but we were hoping that we could get an approval based off of this alternative 3. Or I don't know how that would work with the plan, but I'll pass this out to you all. Bigger? Any bigger?
Yeah, the left. Left and right.
We've got that traffic study, which I can give you a copy of. Matt also has a copy of it. But I just wanted to point out again, there is very minimal trips that are going to be generated from this RV site. I mean, given, based on the traffic study, in the morning, there's only about a total of 18 trips that may be generated, and in the evening hours, maybe about 24 trips that might be generated. So very minimal trips that really would be generated with this type of development. Most other developments that might go in here would probably have more than that.
Question I think I'll have, and Matt, you may answer this for me, is I know the one point, or the reason you said you wanted to continue this is they didn't make a deadline. So what was the deadline date? And then when did they get the information to you?
December 26th is the deadline. That gives us time to write staff reports.
Correct.
For you all. This plan was emailed to me earlier today. The one you have right there.
So in all fairness to our staff and our commission, I mean, for us to hear this tonight, it doesn't give our staff enough time to review it, make their comments, put their thoughts on paper. I mean, you've got a December 26th deadline, you gotta meet it.
Well, we did. These changes were a reflection of the recommendation we got from Matt based on what we didn't know he was recommending continued discussion. And then
Okay.
the workshop, which was Tuesday, which we heard more from you.
Right.
As far as, hey, we actually wouldn't mind having entrance and exit, entrance on Connector Road, exit on 460. So met
We
with
did
it.
say that last meeting.
Yeah, you wanted us to look at alternatives, and that's what we provided the second alternative. And then, I'm not sure when you sent out the
The staff
actual,
reports would have gone out, last Thursday.
the last Thursday, so we got that, and that's when we started working on, well, we had approval last time, and then we heard from you all on Tuesday. So this isn't, we didn't meet a deadline, it's, well, we heard new information since that deadline was submitted, and we wanted to provide a plan that would fit both you and the planning staff.
Commission, correct me if I'm wrong, the last time you were here, we talked about we wanted to see some different alternative entrances and exits. So at that point, which was last month's meeting, or was it the month before? November's meeting, we asked to bring back alternatives. You'd have had until December 6th to get those alternatives in, not yesterday.
Well, we did get that alternative in.
All of them? Yeah, you might be better up for the record coming up there.
So they submitted the plan that's in, your packets, that 11 by 17. And then that's what the staff report was written based on. They've made changes since then to try to address some of the concerns that we raised, in the staff report.
Okay.
However, I like to, I would like to rewrite the staff report based on, the changes that are proposed so that, you all can have accurate information from staff, and that, you all and the applicants, if the application is approved, everyone's on the same page as far as what's being approved, if there's variances that are needed, and things like that.
Okay.
So that's where I'm coming from, where I'm saying, I think we should continue the application so that we can write that staff report based on this plan. I think this is a better plan, I just haven't had a chance to, review all of, our regs, as it relates to this plan.
And I just want to be fair to both the applicant as well as the staff, so, just for the record. Okay.
I think our big concern at the last planning and zoning meeting was the Connector Road entrance. That was a big point, and you all have done a great job of adding these lanes in here, and so that looks, much better, but I have to go along with the staff too. I think they need time to review it, and then this area down here, 460 runs right down here, doesn't it? It would be nice on this plan to be able to see that entrance or exit out of there, because we had talked about an exit out of this way would make it would flow a whole lot easier in the mornings, because 90% of the RVs are going to be going to the interstate, not back towards Paris. So if we could
We can show that the only reason it's not shown on that plan is it's gonna make that plan a lot smaller.
understand.
Harder to see.
Understand.
Comments, questions, or would you like the applicant to continue?
I think while we're looking at this, we ought to at least, I can see by the arrows that, how you're showing the traffic flow, and with this one exit coming out along, I guess along the boundary fence, down here in the right-hand corner, it looks like, would that be one way only for exiting?
Well, they use it for their dealership, so we couldn't just turn it to one way for that reason, because.
It'd be,
that-
right, the
Yeah,
dealership,
it would be an exit, it wouldn't be an entrance, that'd be an exit, so like, as far as RVs
it
coming
would only
out,
be an exit for RVs, or somebody pulling a trailer.
That lane there is, I think, wider than 24 feet.
Yeah.
Right there. It wouldn't be an entrance for the RVs to go into the campground, but it's still an active entrance for them to bring in RVs for their dealership.
And then you're showing a second, that'd be a second entrance over here in the corner off of the RV dealership as well? There's one, I assume this is one.
Oh, no, this wouldn't be an entrance, no, that'd be gated off.
All right,
Mhm. That's just for RV dealerships, if they ever wanted to, they'd have a gate, that wouldn't be open to public.
Okay.
That'd be fenced off, that's where they
Be-
have all their
be closed.
merchandise.
all right, and this one right here, would it ever
That'd
be
be
used
closed
for?
off, because this is for the storage units, for security.
Okay.
I would say that the only thing that has changed from this alternative to the previous alternative was the entrances and moving the guard shacks flipped around. There's a total of 89 spots versus the first alternative had 100. That's really the only thing that's changed on those. We added some hatching to include a pavement portion through that phase 2, because for them to be able to exit there, that would have to be approved in the first phase.
Questions, comments?
I think since this plan is the one that was turned in, that staff has reviewed, and their staff hasn't reviewed this one, I think we need to continue this.
So are you making a motion?
I am making a motion to continue this until next month to get, in all fairness of the staff, to give the staff time to review the new plan that was given to us.
So I've got a motion by Mrs. Mizell to continue.
To make sure everything is copacetic.
I second that. I think
I got a second by Mr. Stone. So let's just do an all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, well, you're here next month. Thank you.
I think it looks good, though. That's,
It
It
does.
looks fabulous.
I believe that was really the only issue we had, was trying to make sure we had the entrance in the right place.
Is not happy. That gentleman is not happy.
No, but he will
That is, that is fair. That's a fair judgment.
They were here.
He'll be fine when he's finished, so he's okay.
Okay, next on the agenda is FDP 2018-41 Commonwealth Tool, amended final development plan to construct a 170,000 square foot manufacturing building located at the corner of Endeavor Drive and Enterprise Way, future in Lanes Run Business Park.
That cleared out a lot.
Michaela's issue? Come on up.
This is a final development plan to construct a 170,000 square foot manufacturing building. You heard this back in October, or I apologize, September of 2018 for the preliminary development plan. That did receive approval. Since then, when they brought back the final, the building area increased, and also they are requesting a variance now, so that's why it's back before you for the final. So we'll just start going over this. The location of the site is on the corner of Endeavor Drive and Enterprise Way in the Lanes Run Business Park. Property is zoned I-1 Enhanced Light Industrial. It is one Business Park performance standards. The property is 16.07 acres. The building area for phase 1 portion of it is approximately 125,000 square feet, and phase 2 is 44,000 square feet for a total of approximately 170,000. Phase 2 is not planned in the immediate future, maybe 5 or so years down the road, so phase 1 is what's in the current plans. For parking, there are 49 spaces that are required, but they are proposing 102 spaces with handicap, and there are 2 accesses proposed on Endeavor Drive. So this is just an image of the site. So this is Endeavor Drive here, and then the proposed street is going to come down along there for Enterprise Way as future. I believe it's already under construction.
Yeah.
It's already paid.
Yeah, so this zoning map's a little updated, but this is just a image of the new final development plan that you're seeing. So this is the main building here that received the biggest increase. So on the preliminary development plan that you saw, they were proposing 75,000 square feet. It's been bumped up to 90,000 square feet. The office area has remained the same up front here. The water and jet fabrication area, it was shown as 7,200 square feet on the preliminary, and it's been bumped up to 16,500 square feet on the final that's in front of you. For the phase 2 area here, on the preliminary, it was showing it as 51,000 square feet. On the final, they did bump it down to 44,000. On the preliminary, the phase 2 was shown on the northern side of the building, and the loading, unloading area was shown on the rear here. In the final, they have swapped the two. I think it's due to topographical reasons. So the flow of the traffic is the same as far as bringing it through the building here and going around, but they did switch the layout slightly. And to go over the variance briefly, so this is what they're proposing for the landscaping for the interior landscaping area. All the other landscaping requirements are met. They are proposing to meet the interior landscape area, the number of interior trees that are required. The variance that they're requesting is we require an interior landscape island every 120 feet. They are proposing to have no interior landscape islands along the front here. They would be exceeding that 120 feet here and here as well. So that is the variance that they're looking for. I did just put in here our requirements for variances. They do ask for individual situations where by reason of exceptional topographical, dimensional, or shape, or other special conditions on the site. Staff doesn't feel that there's any special conditions on the site to warrant the variance. That's why staff is recommending denial of it. But I did just put in some mock-ups of the site here. So this is the proposal that would meet the requirements with the interior landscape islands. And then this is their proposed variance request, so you can see that they don't have the landscape islands in there. The Business Park Authority did hear this new revised plan on Tuesday morning. They did approve the revised plan, and they also did have a unanimous vote of approval for the proposed alternative landscaping plan that you see here.
Kayla, real quick, you said there's no internal landscaping, but I've counted 8 islands. They've
No,
removed 6, but they
I
still have 8.
apologize. I meant interior landscape islands that's meeting the 120-foot requirement. They are going to be meeting all the required landscaping area. I can look up that number for you quickly. Yeah, that's
Right,
essentially,
okay.
they're essentially proposing to put most of the interior landscaping islands on the periphery of the VUA area
They're
here.
just missing the initial 6
Yeah,
that they took off.
whereas here they're putting it more spaced out, and that's kind of the intent of the ordinance, so that's what you typically see in most parking areas. So they're, like I said, they would be meeting the required number of interior trees with the proposed alternative and the area requirements. It's mostly just that they wouldn't be meeting the spacing requirements, so I apologize.
A little
for the
less spread
confusion.
out.
Yep. So, yeah, with that, staff is recommending approval of the final development plan. I did recommend denial of the variance with the 4 conditions that you have there. They're pretty standard. All the previous conditions that you approved in the preliminary would carry over. That's, I believe, the first condition there. You did approve several variances on the last one that included early grading, which really, at this point, isn't as relevant. A landscaping variance that is no longer relevant due to the increase in parking area, and
HVAC.
something about the utility transformer
Yeah.
going on the side, but it will be screened, and that was previously approved, so. Not sure if you guys have questions.
Any
for me.
questions for Ms. Michaela?
Why is it you don't approve the variance on the islands?
Yeah, that's kind of what I was trying to go through. For variances to recommend approval, there's essentially something that needs to be unique about the site. I don't feel that there's any topographical challenges or the shape of the lot or anything to warrant the variance. I feel that they can provide the parking areas and the spacing requirements that the zoning ordinance calls for without creating an unnecessary hardship on the applicant. So that's typically what you look for with a variance, so that's why I'm recommending denial of it.
But if I remember correctly, it was for the snow removal?
Yeah, I believe that was one of them, and I also think they like the aesthetics of it better with it more spaced out, so. Yeah. And like I said, the Business Park Authority did make a unanimous vote of approval for the alternative plan that doesn't meet the spacing requirements, so.
Any other questions for Ms. Michaela?
Kayla?
Yep.
I realize this is a artist rendering and not you know, but it, you know, it shows a tree kind of in an island type situation off of the parking lot.
Yeah.
So could they do that and put the trees every 120 feet and still meet the requirement?
They do have to put trees along the frontage there to meet our view a perimeter screening requirement.
Right.
So you're going to see, let me,
So they would have that anyway.
yeah, so you can see that they will have trees, I believe it's every 40 foot on center
Yeah.
there. So they will have that along with a 3-foot hedge line in the front. It's just a matter of they wouldn't be having those bump outs into
But
the
if they
front.
took those extra 6 trees that were gonna be in the islands and kept them in the same place, but just moved them back off of an island so that they could ease
So
their
more of
snow
a bump
removal.
out this way, or?
Yeah, that way, back into the grass,
If you notice.
just like it's shown here on the artist
Charlie, what they
rendering.
did do is they put, see on the bottom there,
Yeah,
right-hand corner.
they
put
grouped
more
them down
trees.
there.
Yeah, yeah.
But we could,
Yeah, they made.
they could put them in every 120 feet, just like the islands would show, but just it not be in an island that's sticking out.
It might not be as symmetrical, though.
Yeah.
Might be
If-
some utility conflict along the right of way.
If you go out in the woods, they're not,
No, they're never symmetrical.
they're
You're
never
right.
symmetrical.
Yep. I think part of the intent of having the landscape islands there is for shading and things of that nature, so I don't know if that would help
Yeah,
with
the
it.
shading would still be there, it would just be set back 6 or 8 feet. I'm just trying to find an alternative
Yeah,
to
yeah, I understand
take
that,
the islands out, but at the same time, still have the trees.
yeah.
Well, if they do it like this, it's, I mean, you're gonna have it like you're
Yeah.
talking about.
Yeah,
Yeah, they'll still have, I mean, like I said, they're gonna be meeting the tree requirement with both plans. The interior trees, they're just adding additional trees kind of on the periphery
Right.
of the VUA area rather than having it more internal there, but,
Any other questions for Ms. Michaela? All right, thank you.
I
We're here.
did include, that packet that Charlie has at the end of this, so if you want me to scroll through it, it's.
Okay.
No, it's-
One here from the applicant.
Thank you. I'm John Traylor, Commonwealth Tool and Machine, and I appreciate you all listening to us tonight. Everything Michaela said is correct, and I understand what she's saying. We are asking for the variance on the islands. One, you know, is snow removal or sweeping of the parking lot, which we intend to do also. The other is, none of us that are building the building, that are spending the $9 million to build this building, want the islands in there. We don't feel like it's really causing an issue with what, like Charlie is saying, that row of trees is gonna take care of all the shading or thermal pollution or whatever you wanna call it of that portion of the parking lot. So we don't think it's gonna cause any problem taking the islands out. You're removing an island that's gonna have a redbud or a dogwood tree that's gonna grow to maybe 12 feet tall and 12 feet in diameter at the most. So basically that small tree is gonna shade the island. It's not gonna provide any shade for the parking lot to amount to anything. The maple or oak trees down the linear portion of that parking lot are gonna do the shading, and they're gonna grow much faster and reach maturity much quicker to shade that parking lot. So we feel like that part is taken care of, so we don't think that's gonna be an issue. In the Business Park Authority meeting on Tuesday, as Michaela mentioned, the Business Park Authority did mention that they would wish that you all would approve the waiver for the removal of the islands. The word they used on the building was benchmark, that this is a benchmark facility for the Lanes Run Business Park. And that's what we're shooting for. You know, we're not trying to do anything that's aesthetically wrong or anything like that. We want this place to look nice. You see the renderings that we provided, and that's what the building's gonna look like. We want this to be a nice-looking place. We all want to drive into a nice-looking place to work every day, and we're a very good corporate citizen. The term that Joe said in the meeting the other day is he doesn't want to set a precedent for not having the islands, and I understand that, and Joe, I won't tell anybody about the islands. But what we're looking for is we're looking to set a precedent. We want to set a precedent that everything in that business park look is good or better than our facility. So we're hoping to raise the bar a little bit by that. So that's why we're asking for that.
Thank you, Mr. Trailer. Any questions for Mr. Trailer? Anybody here? Thank you. Anybody else here to speak for or against it? Okay. Well, we need a motion.
I move that, that we approve FDP 2018-41.
So I've got a motion by Mr. Mifflin,
Second.
a second by Mr. Vest.
Wait a minute.
Oh,
That in the variance, well, I don't see it now. Yeah. That we exclude variance number 1, to allow them to construct that without the,
If you excluded the variance,
mean
that means
to-
they would have to have
Allow the
the
variance.
Yeah,
If you
need to
allow the variance, that
approve.
means-
allow the variance?
you would
Yes.
allow that a variance.
Okay,
That means they're not gonna have the islands.
that's correct.
So we have a motion by Mr. Mifflin to approve the application as presented
As is.
with the variance, disallowing the islands.
I would second that motion.
Oh, you already been beat by Mr. Vest.
Oh, have I?
Yes, you have. Sorry. Nice try.
But you can say what you want to
But
say.
if you have anything else to say before we
Well, I
go.
just think if the Business Park Authority is on board with it, then I don't think we should,
Yeah, and I thank you for bringing the pictures. Those pictures are nice and very explained. So I'll do a motion, or a roll. Oh, yes, sir.
You were talking about the trees being every 120 feet. The trees are every 40 feet, and that is on the plan, so.
I was talking about the additional ones that would have been on the islands.
I'll do a roll call just because. Mr. Stone?
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Vest?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Mifflin?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
yes.
Mrs. Mizell?
Yes.
Mr. Garrett?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. You've been approved. Go and sign.
Congratulations.
Yep, congratulations. Thank you. Anything else, Joe? All right, well, then I'll make a, you weren't here you were just taking it all in, huh? Please. Oh, okay, all right, thank you. All right, I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
Oh, just hit it. Yes,
There
sir.
you go.
Assert yourself, sir. Oh, excuse me, this is your copy.
John.
Mr. Trailer?
This is your copy.
Hey, Joe,